Hi, I'm Olga Mesa. I'm an assistant professor at Roger Williams University. My colleague John O'Keefe, digital education and labs specialist, and I thank you for the opportunity to present our paper entitled Modeling Interdimensional Narratives. This is a follow-up on a course and a workshop that I taught with my graduate assistant, Chris Norcross. The integration of VR in the creative process has caused a profound shift in the use of modeling tools and abstraction. How do instantaneous experiential feedback, body awareness, the triggering of spatial sensations, and traveling in real time from an object scale to habitable scale affect modeling in VR? This research explores the tensions and exchanges between the physical and the digital relative to spatial perception when designing in VR. The work produced by participants involved in a digital design workshop developed around these topics will be presented. In response to a written provocation, participants modeled three-dimensional dreamscapes in VR using Oculus Medium. Participants explore the connection between the body and its movements to measure, model, and control phenomena when animating virtual scenes. This research contributes to the teaching and implementation of modeling in a virtual environment by exploring the inherent possibilities of VR in relation to the conceptualization of spaces. Immersing a subject in a virtual environment has been a fascination for decades and in many disciplines, including design and architecture. Inhabiting, modeling, and visualizing proposals is a primary opportunity in VR because unlike other traditional modes of architectural representation that work more asynchronously, the designer receives experiential feedback in real time. In VR, the fourth dimension is integrated. There is a latent potential to integrate this capability in the early stages of design production via modeling. One of the main goals of this research was to investigate the possibilities of modeling when spatial perception is the main entry point in generating space. The objective of the workshop was to study how the research questions inform teaching workflows related to the creative processes. In response to a written provocation, like cyberspell, buoyant time, and entangled memory, participants modeled three-dimensional dreamscapes using Oculus Medium and head-mounted displays, HMD. Our research goals included to investigate how the physicality of body awareness, the triggering of spatial sensations in real time, and the crafting of the ambient color palette of a VR scene affect the gestures and thus modeling outcomes. When modeling virtually, the HMDs help participants to access a mental space where stimuli from the physical space are mitigated. However, when the body is not seen in this environment and its connection to reality is only through a rudimentary depiction of hands, the awareness of the body continues. Having a common reference between these spaces was key to establishing parallels between the physical and the virtual. It was important that the virtual space could be expanded along the z-axis to investigate spatial sensations such as vertigo or claustrophobia. The three-dimensional frameworks featured fields of varying densities to offer a sense of spatial depth. They served as a reference to scale and measure their dreamscapes in relation to their bodies. They moved back and forth between handheld scales and the original habitable size in order to experience what they had modeled at various scales. In our conversations, they reflected on the commonalities and distinctions between small-scale modeling after experiencing the scenes at one-to-one scale. It was also recognized how the crux of their projects could still be identified even at the various sizes. Participants investigated the link between the body and its movements by modeling and controlling phenomena when animating the virtual scenes. This connection was explored by using their bodies, arms, and legs to measure space in relation to the 3D framework or by using their own body center as an anchoring point. Participants tended to construct intimate, personal cocoon-like enclosures since they mostly explore the movement afforded by their dimensional ranges relative to a fixed reference. They also traced with their controllers the silhouette of another participant's body while modeling with virtual clay, thus experiencing a tactile sensation while visualizing the spatial effect that this activity generated even if not physically seeing the other participant. The awareness of their bodies in motion became more apparent when they were asked to produce an experiential video as if they were choreographing a dream. By recording their view from inside the HMD, they were able to map the experience of walking through their dreamscapes, but they were also able to explore recording with a virtual camera held in their virtual hands. These two ways of recording allowed different movements and as such experiences of their dreamscapes. For instance, some developed a shaky cam style while others quickly rolled their cameras through space like a camera on a dolly, and some used their hands to define sweeping fly-throughs. Their videos and perception while modeling their scenes were used to finalize their written narratives inspired by the initial hybrid word pairings. Participants chose a portion of their virtual dreamscapes to be fabricated using 3D printers. These artifacts were meant to stand as mementos, to enable them to access their dreamscapes through memory, thus connecting a physical materialization with the experience of the virtual environment. At the end of the workshop, an exhibition was curated where an armature, a sort of cabinet of curiosities, displayed the various artifacts that encapsulated the dreamscapes. With the incorporation of VR into the creative process, designers are witnessing a change in the use of modeling tools and spatial abstraction. This reconfiguration in creative thinking is due in part to the ability to experience virtual space in real time. The research studied the tensions and exchanges between the physical and the digital when using VR in the design of spatial concepts. Participants explored the physical and spatial sensations experienced in VR and gradually modeled their dreamscapes guided by their perception of their virtual scenes as they emerged. Participants reported that inhabiting these atmospheres elicit spatial sensations, emotional reactions, and body movements, which in turn influenced their gestures and the sculptural qualities of medium's virtual clay, transporting mentally between various scales while engaging in the physical and spatial sensations inherent in VR. Through the visual complex fourth-dimensional dynamic environment, participants generated spatial concepts that emerged from the journey between dimensions. Thanks to all the participants and our collaborators.